Let's keep it G and
Well,
not say
let's
this
talk
whole
about
time.
your book.
All right.
What was the point of my show again? Let me read it. Oh, yeah. Ghosts of East Baltimore, Ghosts of West Baltimore. So Ghosts of East Baltimore came out, what, like a year ago?
Yeah,
And Ghosts of
July
West...
27th of last
Okay.
year.
And Ghosts of West Baltimore came out, what, like 6 months after that?
July 27th of this year.
Oh,
1
okay.
year.
So a year. Okay. Which is
Yeah.
crazy to me. Because I
Why is
can't...
that?
Because I can't write a 5,000 word story in a year. But that's just because I'm undisciplined.
I think if you find the right story, just like you find the right book, you'll write. I like it a lot. If I like the material,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's. But yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Like, that's a thing I watched other interviewers do once, and they're like, no. If you're interviewing someone, you let them talk. That's the whole point. You got
True.
something to say, keep talking, man.
No, just that I think with writing, if you like the subject matter, it'll pour out of you. But when I've had to do prompts for money, and you know what I'm talking about, some of them will pour out of you and others won't. Like if you don't dig the subject.
Have you ever seen, a little bit off topic, there's a Studio Ghibli, a Miyazaki movie I think you might really like. It's called Whisper of the Heart. And you might like it because the little girl in it, her dream is to become a writer, so a lot of her journey is talking about like the act of writing. They talk about how like it's like I think they compare it to a geode, and sometimes you got to crack it open to see if it's a dud or if it's full of gems, but you don't know till you crack it open.
It's true. It's true. Sometimes a joint is a dud, but you keep working at it just because you that sort of person where you're like, no, I wasted so much time. And you hope that it don't just show in the finished product. You probably shouldn't keep continuing. I do, because I just don't like to I don't like to waste bars, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And like if I open up, like when I write, all my shit start with like the first line.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You start with a first line before I even have a theme, a subject, a beginning, middle, or end. Goes to East Baltimore. I had the first line of that book before I knew anything about what it was going to be about. And I don't like to waste them shits.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you got to push through.
So, if we were to turn these two books into a video game, I guess the first thing is, would you want to condense both stories into one narrative experience, like one game, or do you think each of them stands on its own as like its own game?
Let me ask you a question in response to that, not to be annoying, but seriously, would you want to play Dark Souls 3 without the two DLC? Like, what do you think about it without the two DLCs, the Ashes and you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it feels complete.
Okay. Without it?
Yeah.
Okay. I
But
think
like they add something to it, but it almost does feel like the two DLCs are their own story, separate from the complete experience.
I think I would like it to be like that.
Okay. Ghosts of East Baltimore and then Ghosts of West Baltimore is the DLC.
Yeah, even though they're of equal content length, I kind of feel like it could work that way. Just because, like, you get that whole new narrative in Dark Souls 3, or even in Bloodborne, where you're just in a whole new area that looks completely different. You know what I mean? And it would be the same way with Ghosts of East and West, because in West, you end up in West Baltimore, in Park Heights.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would do it like that. And definitely by From Software.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would picture this game as like a Souls-like?
I would love to, bro. So if I thought about this for all this time we've been planning to do this episode, I thought about that if it was my dream, it would be, by your boy who does everything. Sekiro, Dark, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Miyazaki.
Exactly. But and it would be that sort of quality on the PS5, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought to myself, I said, but as a creative, I'm linked up with people who make video games and do shit like that or write for video games and stuff. And I'm like, but what could be realistic? What could we realistically make, like budget wise, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what about a like 2D side scroller Metroidvania, kind of like Hollow Knight, but in pixels?
Okay.
Do you feel me?
No, yeah. No, I'm picturing it.
So like Mega Man, but no, so like or like somewhere between that Metroid and like Salt and Sanctuary.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The weird thing about that is that Baltimore is not a very vertical city. And a lot of these Metroidvanias, they have a lot of verticality to them.
You're right. What some of the most challenging levels of these games are the jumping levels or climbing, because you get to the top after killing all these dudes, and then you get fucked up and you fall back to the bottom and you got to do the whole thing again. So, so that might not translate as well.
Maybe. If you're dedicated enough, you could make it work, and you always have creative liberties with this kind of thing. That was just my first thought, was like a Metroidvania could work, but with you go in Baltimore, you're going more left and right. There's not like there's a whole underground like sewer subway system like you get with New York. Or
there's
like
no
a bunch of skyscrapers and rooftops and buildings. Like you could have some like row home rooftop type deals going on, but
okay, so help me with this then. Can you think of a 2D side scroller video game that wasn't that vertical? And I think we could narrow it down by thinking like which games didn't have a jump button or didn't really utilize one. Can you think of any?
Well, so the kind of what comes to mind, did you ever play Limbo?
No.
So Limbo was a game that moved left to right. Like you had little bits of up and down. But it had kind of that linear left to right.
Okay.
Versus you think like Hollow Knight, where like you might have an area that's up here, you might have an area that's down here. That verticality that lends to the branchingness of it.
Right.
Which is, again, I think your story and your setting would match like a more branching story. It's just, it would be a challenge to adapt Baltimore to that and not start to like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like skirt the edge of the realism a little bit.
Well, see, it's funny because there is the way to go with the game like that, but I'm trying to think of the name of the game. Is it Contra, where you can't even jump? You're just a machine gun running around left and right, gunning left, gunning right. So, is it?
Yeah.
Contra's
so what you're thinking of.
So I was thinking, like, what if it wasn't? It was more like a pixelated 2D side scroller like that, where you don't need the vertical, and the game starts similar to. You don't even start with a weapon, because Worm doesn't get a weapon till later on. And so you just, but see, that's also like part of, so like in the game, right? The Antiochians are an existential threat till he interacts with them. But if we were making a game that looked like Contra or whatever, I'd have Worm having to smack the shit out of him left and right as he's progressing. Like they're just jumping at him in gimp suits.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, well, that makes them great kind of video game enemies too, is that they're very faceless, and in the book they're not like mindlessly violent, but like indiscriminately violent. Like they're just there doing stuff. Like the framing of the story gives you something that like this thing's there and it's gonna attack you because it's there and you gotta fight it.
And bro, this goes back to the whole thought of budget. J. David Osborne told me when I was writing the book, he said, writing the first book, he said, remember, writing has no budget. You can make the most ridiculous explosions and fights in your book and it doesn't matter. You don't need the CGI for it. But in a video game, we do have to deal with budget for graphics. And it's like, if you had a bunch of Antiochians, right, you could have that same character build and just keep changing the color or their outfit, or like some of them after you hit them, they would explode into flames, like some of them skeletons in Dark Souls.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel me? And then that would fuck you up. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't even take that much money to do that because they the same joint. But with
it would cost the same to do fights with 1,000 Antiochians as it would cost to do a fight with one Antiochian.
Yes,
exactly. The game I think is matching. It's a very old game. It's called River City Ransom.
Okay,
that was or Streets of Rage even.
That I remember.
Yeah. Same kind of genre. River City Ransom, though, had more of an exploratoriness to it versus like stage 1, stage 2. It was like, oh, I'm moving, and then here's a building I can go in, and then that takes me to this different level.
Now, I do like the exploratory aspect and the branching you mentioned. I don't want you to be able to leave Biddle Street Greenmount to Parkville until you've completed that. But once you've completed that, you'll be able to, if you wanted to, once you've unlocked Parkville, you should be able to go back from Parkville through Greenmount to Greektown if you wanted to go that way. Like, because you've opened up the east side of the city. And then on the game map, you open up Northwest Baltimore. And then on the game map too, it would have all of like Southwest Baltimore and all that blurred out with the fog of war because you can't get there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I would think that would be fun. I definitely would have a map because my biggest complaint about two of my favorite games of all time, Sekiro and Bloodborne, is there's no map, so I just have to sit with my phone open to the fan-made maps
to figure out where you are.
Yeah, I have bad sense of direction in
horrible sense of direction.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, I hate it because then people don't believe you where you're from when they come to visit you because you have to use.
Yeah, good people are like, oh, where is it? I was like, I don't know. I had that problem with my wife. She's like, what are the landmarks? I was like, I don't know the fucking landmarks. Like, the street name is this. Like, find the street name.
Bro, oh my God. Yeah, exactly. And it just, for me, I'm just grateful that fans do make those really involved maps. But at the same time, I think of like the 12-year-old me who would have hated the video game back in the day when you didn't have that ability.
Yeah.
To find the map, like to go online and do it because no one made it yet. So I would definitely want a lot of like in like Souls or Bloodborne where you like find like a glowing thing on the ground and you click it and it tells you like a cryptic message, right?
Oh, but like with Baltimore facts.
You got it, buddy.
That'd be so dope too.
Wouldn't it?
Like,
and
just
a lot of
the
like
lore of Baltimore.
Yes, bro. Oh man, that would be fun. You could have so many different things. You click on a joint and it's like back during the World Series, there was a power outage that was faked at Camden Yards because Cal Ripken got locked up for beating the shit out of Kevin Costner for fucking his wife. And then you unclick it and it's like Baltimore fact.
Is that a real fact?
Yeah.
Damn.
Wait, yeah, bro. Hold up. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Cal Ripken walked in on Kevin Costner fucking his wife. Something happened. A domestic police call was called, and to stop his winning streak, if you Google it right now and type Cal Ripken, Kevin Costner, you'll see it. So I don't mess up any of the facts. The part that nobody knows for sure because it was all pushed under the rug and no charges were filed is we don't know if Cal Ripken beat the shit out of his wife, Kevin Costner, or both of them. You feel me?
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
So they have a fact like that. And then you could have some cool facts like from my book about the history of the various things that have gone in Baltimore, the segregation, the
Hopkins you talk a lot about in the book.
You could definitely have a lot of, and Hopkins is in the book, you know, and so you could be able to go there.
Mm-hmm. You go to Yard 56.
Yeah, you could definitely go to Yard 56.
No one goes there in the book. They just mention it briefly.
Let me ask you something. If a place is mentioned in the book, should you be able to go there in the game?
Depends on if you think there's something interesting to do there.
All right. So Worm mentions breaking into people's house. The main character of the book, Worm, mentions breaking back in the day, breaking into people's houses to steal furniture, antiques, and jewelry so he could flip them in those antique stores in the same area, right? So in the game, even though that happens before the book starts, once you like, should it have like a open play where you never mind. I was gonna say where you could like rob motherfuckers to get your coins up.
I mean, you could. I mean, you think about like the Legend of Zelda, right? Like, you just go in to houses and break pots and take things.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. You go into, and if it's a 2D side scroller, if it is, or we go another way, yeah, you go up in them houses. Or it's like Skyrim, you go up in them houses and just snatch shit.
Yeah, if you
You know
get
what I mean?
caught, like shit happens. You do it
If
to
you
the
get
wrong
caught,
guy, he's got a gun.
hey, you know what? You know what I want to do with this game, bro? And we're gonna give it a map, but we're gonna give it something that is so mean and such a perfect thing. You're gonna love it, bro. It's like going hollow in Dark Souls. All right. You know what we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
In the game, you don't die, even if you get killed in the game. If like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if it looks like you die before your health goes to zero, right at 1%, you get locked up and you start the game right back over, getting out of prison, like how the book starts, with absolutely nothing. No XP, no nothing. The only thing that stays open is the levels you've unlocked. So you can speed run back to the end boss if you're fucking crazy. How about
Now,
that?
that sounds interesting. So that's actually another question. So like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, do we want some type of character like level progression, or
Oh yeah,
do we want
yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
where I can beef up this stat or that stat?
So I would say like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, where there are moments when you have the ability to start using runes or different sorts of upgrades. At the moment when Worm first tastes the chemical, that's when you have the ability to start leveling
The
up.
catalyst.
That's the catalyst. That's when you can start leveling up. I don't know who you level up with or what, but maybe you tap into that old god that the chemical comes from,
Yeah,
something like that.
because
But
that's
but
like
if
the
you
soulsy part of the book. I remember.
exactly,
Like he
so you,
briefly sees this whole thing, and then they don't really expand on it, or at least I don't remember him expanding on it elsewhere in the book. Like, this guy's trying to do something with it, but you're like, what the fuck was that shit?
so my thought when I'll be careful with this because one of the best pieces of advice I heard from writing is a book is scary when the characters don't know what's going on, but a book is really scary when it seems like the author doesn't know what's going on exactly. So I don't want to explain too much, but my thought process is that there are places in this world, in the book, okay, all right, that the thought process is that there are places on Earth where the fabric of reality is a little bit thin, and you can, connect with otherworldly beings. But my bad guy in my book just wants to siphon the blood or discharge off one of these otherworldly beings because it makes you get high and really violent. So that's what that thing was. We don't know what it was, where it was exactly, somewhere in Greece. Um, but we don't even know if it was bad, good, just different. And whatever it is affects people. And I think it would be cool if we could expound on that and like you tap in with that creature and it levels you up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Now, when you get locked up, do you keep the level ups you did?
Fuck no. You
No.
got
Okay.
shit. Bro, you start out with no coins, no level up. The only thing that you still got is, remember how I said like you start in Greenmount and Parkville, and you everything you unlocked, you still get to unlock, which means that people who are really good at actually playing the game, like how you are with Souls, you could run back to the sweet breath and Arturo thing fight with a level 1 and fight it, right? Because don't people do that anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They'll play whole game, yeah, I beat Dark Souls 3 without leveling up. I leveled up the weapons and stuff.
Okay, so let's keep it so you can level up your weapons, but you don't even get a weapon till you get the axe from Sweet Breath's house.
Yeah.
And the next level up in the game is when they take your eye.
Well,
so when they take... No, my bad. What was you going to say?
That actually was on my list of things to talk about. I know we've talked about this. The way that video games tell stories better is that they make you experience things like the character. And one of the things, when they take his eye, what happens is they take away his ability to feel fear. And when you play a video game, you stop being afraid, right? Because you're like, this ain't me. So the ability to play like a video game and be indiscriminately violent is kind of connected to the idea, like, I'm missing this part of my brain that tells me, like, oh shit, I don't want to do this.
So how do we...
I almost wanted it to happen early. So, like...
Okay.
Either the game would start off, like, right after that happened. Like, we could even go straight to Ghosts of West Baltimore and make Ghosts of East Baltimore the DLC, where you play the prequel parts.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? How often do these Souls games start with a huge boss that you can never beat at the beginning unless you like look up the special way to beat them? Maybe the game starts with the Arturo Sweet Breath fight from East.
Oh yeah.
You feel me? And then like if you go online to, what is it, Fextra Life or whatever?
Yeah, Fextra Life.
Is that what it's called?
That's one of the Dark Souls wikis. I think it is notorious for being like wrong and incorrect, and like the guy who runs it would put his streams on like autoplay, like embedded into it to like farm views.
Oh god.
Yeah, and then Twitch changed their like rules on that, what you could do with that, and they got pissed, I guess, because they're like, I guess you can't farm stream views anymore.
Damn. See, I use that joint to get through some hard parts in the game, I think.
I mean, if it works, it works. But sometimes that information can be dodgy.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
No, but you know, you go on there, or you go on the better one, and it tell you that how to beat that fight in the beginning. And if you beat that fight in the beginning, you like, who knows, whatever, something.
Well, he already. I don't want to spoil your book. He's already lost his eye by the time you get there.
Right, and that's how you could start the game with the game opening with the procedure. That's the opening cutscene. So the opening cutscene in the game is very good graphics, you know, typical cutscene, which is just the projector video that Worm watches in the book, where he watches the procedure, right? And then you wake up and you're all fucked up. And that's, you know, damn, it could start like that. That's how you do it, bro. Because you're right, in a video game, you don't feel fear. Because otherwise, how could you... The only way you could do it and up the ante is like, I don't know, it's like you're a supercharged mode or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like once you get the eye removed.
Yeah. I don't know if that's necessary. I like the idea that you're avoiding... So I like the idea, combining it with your idea that like all your levels and stuff reset and you lose all your items when you die. So then you know, you can go straight to the boss, or you might have to take your detour and you're like, I gotta go collect the shit I lost somewhere.
Right.
Which you could have a little Souls, like, oh, here's all the stuff you dropped, and you can go like pick it up or like buy it off someone.
So wait, are we gonna do it like Diablo, where you just gotta go back to where you got locked up to pick up your shit, or do you gotta go find it right where it was, like, you know, all over again?
That you could do it either way or both.
I don't want to do it the Diablo way. That makes it too easy because you can just speed run to your body.
Okay.
I want to make it where you are like, I want, just like how the lack of the eye gives you the lack of fear of a video game, I want the consequence of getting locked up to be very real.
Okay.
Where you have to start over so that Yeah.
So you're just like completely fresh. But that's awesome though, because now you're avoiding death not because you're afraid, but because
Right.
logically you don't want to do it. You put
Exactly.
yourself in
And
that mindset of I am a person missing the fear center of my brain, but I still have a self-preservation instinct.
exactly. And it also takes care of, one of the fallacies of video games, which is how do you explain dying and coming back? Well, you don't ever totally die. You get fucked up super bad, and
Mm-hmm.
then a cutscene comes, and the police sirens come, the Antiochians go away on their scooters, and you get locked up, and they're like, "Told you you'd be back." And then you start the game again, and you're all fucked up, and it opens up with the screens black and worms like, damn, not again, fuck the fuck, like that.
Yeah.
And it keep going like that. I would think that could work. Yeah, that would be fun. I like that.
Then
Yeah.
you'd have the golem boss fight at the end.
Mm-hmm.
DLC could have you do much like Dark Souls 3, you go back in time and you fight Champion Gundyr before he gets Iudexed. You can like, oh, I did this Arturo
Exactly.
Sweet Breath fight. Now I can go back in the DLC and do the what am I thinking? The Arturo or the Mecha Sweet Breath
Right,
fight. Even
right,
if it's just
right.
like in his head or something.
Bro, you know what else? I know you haven't played Bloodborne, but are you aware that like something that's very popular about Bloodborne is the humanoid characters in the first level? They yell like ridiculous things at you that have become like popular on the internet. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Uh feel like I should be familiar with it, but since I haven't played the game, it's like I don't know. I'm sure the
It's
people are
like
yelling it at me.
it's like a meme-ish type thing where they're like, so like in the game, like everybody is infected, right? With this sickness that's
Mm-hmm.
making them crazy. But the game is very neutral because you're sent to slaughter all the infected people, but to them, they're not infected. They think you're a demon killing them. So they're very upset at you. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to let you in their house. Nobody wants to help you. You think you're doing a good thing, but they don't think you are. And they yell shit at you in like funny voices, like, it's all your fault, like that, right? Or they go, "You plague-ridden rat," like that, and they yell things like you at that, and no, get away, like that. And I just think it would be so funny the different things that the characters could yell at you in the video game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Especially in Baltimore accents, like Baltimore
Exactly,
language.
exactly, bro. You you that you smack the shit because remember you don't get a weapon till later on. You smack the Antiochian and he's like, "I ain't playing with you, shorty."
Oh god.
Hey, hey, yo, if there'd be the game could have some good cutscene upgrade moments, like when you get the William Donald Schaefer.
Oh yeah, with the Matildas.
Yeah,
That's one
yeah,
of my
yeah, yeah.
favorite parts.
You like that part?
I liked the Matildas because they're very unexplained, and it's like okay, well they got powers, but we ain't gonna talk. We don't know how they got them or what
Right.
exactly are they doing? Do they just see the future? Do they control their farts with their mind? I don't know. And it's just again that's the first question I asked you. It's like, yo, is that a reference to the Roald Dahl joint? Because I ain't never read a Roald Dahl book. I just see movies based on stuff he wrote, and I get the feeling he doesn't like children very much. Just
Does not.
it's just based on the
What?
witches, which is about killing
Yes.
children, and
Yeah.
Willy
He
Wonka is
always.
about killing children.
Yo, Roald Dahl love to kill kids in his books. That's one thing you can count on. And he really love to kill fat kids. Like he really do. Like in his books, like he really like to punish overweight kids in his books. It's fucked up.
That
And
kid must have like kicked him in school or something.
had to be, or
Just
fucked his wife.
yeah.
Maybe a fat kid fucked his wife.
It's,
Maybe a
it's like what a fat 13-year-old
Exactly.
Cleaning his
Maybe,
pool as a kid and had sex with his wife, and he's like, you know what?
bro,
All fat kids
bro,
everywhere. You people gonna be calling you Augustus Gloop and pushing you into the chocolate river all your life now, motherfucker.
yo, bro, Road Dogg comes home at like age 50. I don't know when he broke Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, but let's say it's after age 50. He come over at like age 50, and Mrs. Road Dogg is sitting in a jacuzzi with like a fat 13-year-old boy, and he's just smoking a cigar, right?
Nah, man, he's eating chocolate.
Right.
He's got like a chocolate bar in his hand, and like the other hand's like in her bathing suit, like grabbing her tit. Maybe she's not even wearing one. And he's like, "What the fuck?"
He's got one hand on her tits. He's got the other one fisting Reese's Fast Breaks. Just one fist in the Fat Breaks, and he's like, "Hey, roll, fucking roll. I fucked your wife."
Oh my god.
And then Roll Doll's like, "Well, I'm impotent, so I'll just write a book about it."
I was gonna say he like fucking drowns the kid in a hot tub and then writes a story where a fat kid drowns in a river. Of course, all the chocolate melts in his hot tubs. Now it just looks like that dirty brown sewage Willy Wonka water.
Nah, bro, because us writers, nah. Us writers, if we write some shit about a fat kid drowning in chocolate, it's because we didn't do it, and so that's how we had to deal with it. Cause like remember you know the part in Ghost of West Baltimore where Alderman Toomp rapes Randy Delcher through the earlobes?
But yeah, that's my favorite part.
Me too. It was my favorite
Yeah.
too. So that was because like, you know, Chris was pretty frustrating at work that week.
No, I mean like that's what I was like I was like, this has to be him. Like that's what came into mind. I was like, oh man, it must have been for that. I'm like, I was like, yeah, I guess all you wanted to do was smack him and be like, fuck you saying. Like,
Bro, one time I came into work and I don't remember the circumstance, bro, but for some reason I had to use the front desk computer to clock in. And I don't remember the circumstance either, but for some reason Chris was there before me. A very rare occurrence. You feel me?
mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I had to come use his computer. And I tried to, I was like, "Can I use your computer to clock in?" And he's like, "Sure." And he like slightly backed away. And I was like, "Well, bro, I don't want to like lean over you all crazy. Cause I'm not, I don't like that."
Yeah,
And,
no, like personal space.
right. And he like backs away a little more. And I tried to clock in, but the uncomfortableness of the situation for me, because I'm just an uncomfortable dude in general. I don't know. So I I wasn't able to clock in. Like I fucked up. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't clock in and it was like enter it again. And I was like, "Yo, Chris, can I just sit down in your chair?" Damn. So he got up and then I sat down and clocked in, right? And after that moment, I was like, "You're definitely getting hurt in my book." And the reason I'm telling you that is because I didn't hurt Chris in real life.
Yeah. I feel
I
it. I
just
know you
get
did. I would have heard
I
about that, I
didn't get
feel.
assaulted in my book.
Yeah.
So I think writers, they don't really do this stuff. They just pour it out in the book.
Gotcha. Okay.
I hope writers actually do it.
Well, I mean, I hope Roald Dahl didn't systematically murder 6 children in a factory.
I don't know that. I mean, it does add some awesome lore to his
Maybe.
shit.
I mean,
But not like, but no. But yeah, my bad. I don't mean to distract with Roald Dahl, but yeah, Roald Dahl. You know, actually, I read a lot of Roald Dahl growing up. My mom was a fan of Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl to me was as much horror as R.L. Stine.
mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of his shit, including his short stories for adults, is quite horrifying and surreal. I'm a fan of Roald Dahl.
Well, I get weird looks every time I tell people that Willy Wonka is my favorite horror movie.
Well, that's because it's the way you present that statement, but they also are ignorant. So it's a combination of that. Typically, because people don't hear people say that's their favorite horror movie, but at the same time, there are a lot of elements of it. The whole boat ride. Um, Even if you break it down to the fact that like the grandfather only get up out of bed when the dope's available.
Or there's the amount of seats on the boat perfectly matches the number of people, which is now two less because two of them left.
Because they were going to get killed.
Well, and there's so much to it. I could talk forever about this. Because Gene Wilder said, when I come out, I'm going to walk forward, let go of the cane, pretend like I'm going to fall, and I'm going to roll forward. That was all Gene Wilder. And he said that way, for the rest of the movie, nobody knows if I'm bullshitting or not. And so the rest of the movie, you're like, what is happening right now? And then, it's like he makes them all sign the waiver. No, at the beginning. At the very beginning, there's the giant contract on the wall, and he says, "Oh, if you guys want to go in, you have to sign it." And the one girl's dad's like, "Well, let me read it first." He's like, "No, you got to sign it and go in, or you can leave. Not reading it." It's basically like, you absolve me if your child dies in my factory. It's like he was planning to murder these kids.
I know the whole everybody hates Grandpa Joe thing has been played to death as like a Reddit meme, but still, I think there's a metaphor for a guardian or parental or grandparent figure jumping into your shit and taking your money when the child is successful. It happens quite a lot.
All right, I can imagine.
So the fact that your homeboy was just bedridden with nothing wrong, but he just pop up ready to get on his grandkid, like, I don't know, that's a nefarious element too. And to tie that back to what I did with like the Matildas, Matilda was my favorite Roald Dahl book, and it's this horribly mistreated, abused little girl who has telekinetic abilities, and she could go full Firestarter, like in the Stephen King book Firestarter, but she don't, but she could. And that's so in the book, that was a paying homage to Roald Dahl, because the three unexplained telekinetic witches or whatever they are in the book, they're called Matildas. And
because they had all these powers. Yeah, I thought that was I liked that reference just because I liked the movie. I often think about who would win in a fight, Carrie or Matilda.
Carrie from Stephen King?
Yeah.
Okay, let's think about that.
I've only seen the movies, so you got to go. It's basically Sissy Spacek versus.
Okay, so
the actress name is.
I've read the books, but I haven't seen the Matilda movie. I've seen Carrie, the first one, and the remake. You haven't read the books. Tell me, based on what media you've ingested about those two, who do you think will win?
Well, I actually want to put my money on Matilda. Now, Carrie, the Carrie movie's rated R and the Matilda movie's rated like PG. But Matilda learns her powers at a much younger age than Carrie.
Correct.
And children learn things very quickly. Like I told you, my daughter making eggs. She can't tell me a full sentence, because she got autism, but she can crack an egg, whisk it up, pour it in the pan, and then stir it with a chopstick till it's cooked. Which is insane.
That is insane.
And it's insane to me that other people think they can't cook when, like, bruh, my daughter's 4 and she figured this shit out. Like, what's wrong with you?
But there are 4-year-olds who can't do that, though. That's amazing that your daughter did that.
Yeah.
You feel me? So, like, that too. Well, there are adults that can't do that. You just did that too.
But yeah, Matilda learned them at a much young age. And she... Like, Carrie... It's like random stuff falls. And then... At least I never saw the remake. And I never saw the remake with I want to call her Dakota Fanning, but I know that's not who it is.
But it'll do.
Yeah. Because I was like, that version's dumb. I know we see her like float knives into people, and we see her like levitate a fire hose and spray it. And Matilda's like writing with chalk, like with her powers, and like making shutters flapper. Like I think
So,
Matilda would have much more control over her power.
bro, Matilda is tearing that ass up 100 times out of 100, whether they're in the PG universe
Hold
or
on one
Curry.
moment. My wife's trying to get my attention. I'm sorry.
Say again?
My wife's trying to get my attention.
Oh. Bet.
I guess my children, they were supposed to be asleep, but they decided to wake up. But she took care of them anyway. But you were saying Matilda tear that ass up.
Matilda tear that ass up every time. I'm saying, whether it's in Matilda's PG universe or Curry's rated R universe or the book universe. And I'm gonna tell you why. Matilda got her shit at a young age, just like you said. Matilda, her shit she discovering. Curry afraid of her shit, and it's based on fear and anger and hurt. When that shit come out of her, it's like, and everybody dies. You feel me? Matilda is on in a PG universe. She drop a piano on Curry in like a cartoon. You feel me? But off break, just pick up any object, drop it on her before Curry has time to get angry. Like off break. That's that. And in a rated R universe, Matilda at her age is able to write with chalk. Okay? Matilda could easily Magneto from, I think, First Class. He could turn all the fucking guns of everybody that's got a gun in a nearby whatever radius and blast the fuck out of her. I feel like Matilda, she could probably, they don't really go into her limits of her ability. I don't remember that. Do you?
I don't remember. I don't remember either of them really going into the limit.
Well, Carrie's limits are that she has no control.
It's like it's an emotional spike, and then something happens. Yeah.
Yeah. In the book, she is very afraid of what's happening to her. So the only way she takes out Matilda is as if they're in some like warehouse facility, like where Carrie can run from Matilda as Matilda throws tons of objects at her, and then Carrie is crying and scared as she's running, and then all of a sudden gets angry and collapses the whole warehouse, killing Matilda and her. You feel me? Carrie not getting out if she has to kill Matilda. She's not surviving that shit. That's my thought. So to me, Matilda is one of the like most powerful like telekinetics in like books that I can remember. For real.
I should write that fucking movie.
Matilda gone wrong, like
Matilda 2. I don't know. Adult
Matilda's Vengeance.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh man, do you ever see that movie? You know which one? Where they're Michael B. Jordan and they find that alien thing in the ground and they all get telekinesis and they can fly. And it's filmed with like a hand camera.
Oh God, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Apex? No, it's not Apex. He's like, I'm an apex predator at the end when he killed all his friends. What the fuck?
What was it? It was like a weird white kid who starts actually killing people.
Yeah, he's from the movie. His name's Dane DeHaan. Dane something is the actor. He was in that movie, The Place Beyond the Pines. I don't, but yeah, they all get the telekinetic and flying. They get the telekinesis so good that they can telekinesis their bodies up into the air. You feel me?
Right.
But Matilda putting that ass down, boy. What? Matilda is fucking them up. I think Matilda fucking Jean Grey up, bro.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jean Grey sucks.
All right, bet. I got Matilda fucking the Predator up. How you feel about that?
I don't know, man. So, like, Predator doesn't really have a good track record. You know what I mean?
You're right.
But also, the Predator's beaten. You beat the Predator by outsmarting him, not outgunning him.
Right.
Because, you know, the Predators are just like, you know, those rich white dudes that go to Africa and shoot lions. But it's
Damn, you're
like,
right. They got all the equipment.
yeah, but like, if
Right.
you're in a car, the lion doesn't see you as like a threat or prey, so it'll just go fucking lie in the shade of your car and you can shoot it. So
You're
it's
right.
like it's not really that impressive, even if it's like, look, I killed this thing. Like they're just the intergalactic version of that.
Yeah, no, you're really right about that too. When you gave that analogy to like the rich white safari dudes, it's true because like Predator, every time he show up with newer equipment.
mm-hmm. And like he
That's what they
kills,
do.
yeah, he they outgun people easily, but
That's
like
what they do
you
in real
know,
life.
Arnold Schwarzenegger or the Native American girl from Prey,
Right.
like
He killed it.
they got to think about it to beat him. And then they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, you beat us." But then I think about someone with powers. So like, are you familiar with the Worf effect?
Nah, what the fuck is that?
The Worf effect. That's not really what I'm talking about, but I'll explain it to you anyway. The Worf effect is Worf on Star Trek is supposed to be this badass because he's their security chief and he's a Klingon. So when they introduce a character and want to make that character seem really badass and like a threat, they have him beat up Worf. But over a longer period of time, what ends up happening is you just have lots of waivers of episodes of just a ton of random people just like kicking Worf's ass within the first 5 seconds so they can establish him as a threat. And you're like, is Worf really all that tough? But I got confused. I'm thinking Wolverine. Wolverine can heal. So Wolverine, just like someone who might have had their eye removed and no fear, he don't care about getting fucked up, so he just charges in. And then
Right.
he ends up getting battered away, and you're like, oh man, that guy must be really strong if he beat Wolverine. But it's like Wolverine don't really fight because he not worried about getting hurt
True.
like someone else would. But I wonder if that's similar with Matilda. Like, she got psychic powers. She's not sitting here thinking, like, oh, I got to outsmart the Predator. She's just thinking, like, I'm just going to fucking psych him away. But he might be like, yo, I'm from the stars. Like, I fight psychics 3 times a week, bruh. Like,
right. He might have some new devices to make her powers and shit not work. I honestly though, when it comes down to it, if we put in fictional characters up against anything fictional, real, not fiction, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
I got Matilda beating everybody but the opioid epidemic. Like at any point, I got her like beating anybody. But if you remember, I don't know if the movie have it, but certainly in the book, she is definitely poor and white.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not taken care of in her already poor and white family.
Mm-hmm.
And like by the time she gets to middle school, she starts stealing them pills out of her really unhealthy father's medicine cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
She loses every time. But other than that, I see Matilda beating everybody. That's how I would end the Matilda 2 book, because how do you have Matilda can't be beat? So that's how I would do it, bro. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. This is cool. I'm trying to think what else I had. Let me get us back on track a little. So we got this River City Ransom side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's a little exploratory. You have points where you can level yourself up. But if you die, you're going back to the beginning, back at level 1 with no equipment. And you can either run through and gain experience again and level yourself back up, or you can just run straight to the fight you were at and just try and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's life when you go to prison.
Yeah, it is. And come up with something like going hollow for me that gets you a different ending if you go to prison too many times. What happened?
Well, in Ghosts of West Baltimore, you have this like cancer that he has. He's got to take these pills regularly. Right. So maybe maybe you don't just reset to level 1. Maybe your stats start going down.
Mm.
It's like it gets harder every time you die. Dark Souls 2 did something like that, where instead of just like you had a hollow and non-hollow health bar like in Dark Souls 3, you had your health bar went down a little bit each time you died until it hit like a minimum.
Where it like cuts a little bit off the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or even like you have to take more pills each time just to keep yourself like from like losing health or slowing down. So now you gotta steal more of them.
Like Fallout almost. In
Fallout, like Fallout drug addiction.
So by the time we also need that. We also need that in the game because if we started in West with East as a DLC prequel, right? Mm-hmm. We need his medicine. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we need his medicine too. And medicine is a finite resource in the game, I think. Or no.
That's really hardcore. Like FromSoft and Miyazaki would do it, but like, yeah, I can't only imagine the amount of like Ghost of West Baltimore needs an easy mode articles.
I got you. So you start out with 20 of the needles or shots or whatever it is. You got a counter of 20, right? You can substitute one for a charge or ammunition or whatever you refill, right? Mm-hmm. But it reduces your shots, right? And the only way to regenerate your 20 is to start over at whatever the game's bonfires are. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So every time you start over at whatever the waypoints are, you're refreshed, but that number is finite. Like Estes joints, you can't go around getting more of them
right
until you refresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each time you refresh, the bad guys regenerate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome, actually.
Could be fun.
FromSoft, it doesn't not every game has to be Dark Souls structure, right? We could make a Souls-like that's also a Streets of Rage-like or a side-scrolling beat-em-up Souls-like. That's what we're making.
Right, absolutely you could. Absolutely.
Like people would eat that shit up.
I think it would be great. And then I think, I don't know so much about indie games. Like, I know you know a lot more about games than me. Have there ever been, like, a game in a truly urban city setting other than, like, Spider-Man?
I would have to look.
It doesn't. They seem like I've seen dystopian, futuristic joints, but
like a modern. Yeah,
Streets of Rage. What about Streets of Rage?
Streets of Rage is like pseudo dystopian. It's definitely like, it's definitely got the like 80s neon and like Miami.
It's the city.
Yeah, but but it is the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so really like Streets of Rage with some Souls-like elements, that Souls-like systems,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The boss fights would be crazy, bro.
It'd be a lot of fun. Well, they'd be some of the highlight too. You got side scrolling, and like a fat black dude that looks like a steak, egg, and cheese bagel. Like a mech suit. Like, that's a very Streets of Rage like thing to fight.
Can't you picture like Worm like this big in the left hand, and then Mecha's sweet breath, and then they're like,
he just like has the one arm that shoots you. Like, oh, I got back up, so I don't get that hitbox.
So that's when you gotta duck, and then he shoot. Then you gotta jump, and then yeah, exactly. Yep. And oh man, what would be all right, so you got the axe, you got the William Donald Schaefer, you got your hands, but
excuse me. Ooh.
Let me ask you a question. With this, one of the best parts about games is weapon variety, right? For me, at least. But there's not a lot of weapon variety in this game. In the books. So would we add weapons to it, or would we make like a bunch of like fist like move upgrades? Like, you know, like he
Well,
like what would it be?
well, if we're going like an indie game, yeah, you might have fists like melee with the axe, which that could also fill in for a sword, or you would use that animation for that, and then you might have fist animations, and then you just might have gun shooting animations, which is all pretty in line with Streets of Rage.
Right. Okay. Got you.
That might be it. You could expand it if you wanted. Depends on if we want. Do you have an inventory that you're upgrading from, or is it like Streets of Rage where you pick it up and you use it until it breaks and then you just lose it and go back to your fists?
What in the book would allow you to upgrade items that, or even in Baltimore, that like once you get the axe, I think once you get the axe, you got it, and that's your melee weapon. Once you got you have your fists, you can always use those if you want. Once you get the gun, you got your ranged weapon. So maybe it's okay. You got your hands, your melee weapon, your ranged weapon.
Yeah. I mean, that's solid variety. Because, obviously the flaw with the fists is you got to be really up close to use them. Whereas, like, in Streets of Rage, if you get a melee weapon, like, suddenly you have all this range. And then, like, a ranged weapon like a gun's, like, really good in something side-scrolling like a Streets of Rage, because you can hit someone from the other side of the screen.
Exactly. And that's how it would be. The axe would allow you to cover the length of, like, maybe 2 characters rather than one, so you could chop 2 people at once.
Mm-hmm.
The fist would only let you, like, if it's like Streets of Rage, you'd have to be like hit
Mm-hmm.
to the Antiochian on your left, and hit to the right, hit. But with the axe, you could take out couples of them like that.
Yeah.
I think you could do that. I think also after you take your medicine or your shot, there should be a brief like 30 to 45-second moment where you're like either where you're supercharged.
Yeah, where you can like move a little faster and attack a little faster.
And in the moments before you're supposed to take your medicine, if you don't take it, the screen starts getting like pinholed and shit like that.
Fuzzy and shit, so like
exactly.
That works really well too.
So you could still keep fighting. Like if you're in the end with a boss and you could still keep fighting even if you run out of the vials,
Mm-hmm.
But it'll gradually get more and more and more blurry till it's just like, somebody with what is that, retinal pigmentitis or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, and that works really well too, because something like Streets of Rage, or even regular Dark Souls, you're depending on watching the boss's animations to know what's going on. So when you start to blur it, even though you're like, okay, I know this blotches me and this blotches the boss, it becomes harder to discern those animations. It becomes harder to fight. It's like you gotta make sure you got enough of these syringes for these longer fights.
But at the same time, a really good player could beat a boss fight on blurry mode with no vial. Like it's possible to do as hard as it is. You know what I mean? So I think you could definitely do that.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that maybe when you were writing the book, that you said, I'm gonna leave this out?
Oh. I do. Let me give it to you. Hold on 1 sec, bro. I got you. Thank you for letting me use it.
I was asking if there's anything when you were writing the book that you might have opted to leave out that you would want to add back in now that we're making a game.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's something I didn't think about. Okay. That I could add, that I could do that I didn't get to do before. Okay. Because we have the option of more Antiochians with different skins, I would like more variety than what I had in the book. In the book, I have male, female, very, very big and tall and overweight. So I have those 3 different options. And for those of y'all watching or listening who go and watch this, Antiochians are psychotic serial killers in gimp suits and masks, and they just kill people in the middle of Baltimore and for no reason. They just find it entertaining, and that's what they do. Nobody knows where they came from. They just started showing up there, and they don't just kill. They sell drugs. They do anything to cause mayhem, and nobody cares because it's Baltimore. So it like plays on the idea the police don't do much in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So in the game, in the book, the Antiochians have a pink handgun, handgun, the scooters, a chakram, which is like a spinning disc, like the Predator had in Predator 2.
Yeah, like Xena.
Like Xena. Exactly. The double blades. Those weapons. But in the book, I would add way more mayhem. Like in the first book, Goes to East Baltimore. One of them has an ampule of like a substance, magnesium that hypoxide, I think it is, that explodes when exposed to oxygen. So I'd have like tons of them like throwing those. So you'd have the Antiochians that have projectile weapons, chainsaws. I just add way more weapons because that's what I would do. I'd add a lot because I had so much fun in the book writing the variations of the weapons used. Like a lot of the book was like me going on fucking Google, just Googling like what are rare weapons and shit. Like in Ghosts of West, do you remember the Hasidic Jewish men use something called a pernach?
I think I remember that. I don't
Which
remember
is
if I looked it up or not.
it's a big it's the type of weapon I don't like to use in Dark Souls. It's like a big club, like a metal club with a spiky, not quite spiky, but maybe a serrated edged ball at the end of it.
Yeah.
A very heavy metal blunt object that you swing and smack the shit out of somebody with. So like, I like a lot of that. The fun part of writing that book was just researching all the weapons. So for the game, I would just go super hard with the weapons.
Which would work too, because if you're starting with nothing, then you're like, okay, I know this Antiochian here has this weapon, so I'm gonna go kill him before I go do this boss fight again.
Bro, that's how you do it. That's how we get past the weapon lack of weapon diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the book, the main character only gets to use his fist, his the axe, and the William Donald Schaefer gun. But in the video game, maybe you sometimes get to pick up the weapons that they drop.
Yeah, well, and that's a common thing in Streets of Rage. If a bad guy has a golf club and you kill him, he usually drops it and you can pick it up. And usually, you can only use it so many times before it breaks.
Okay, so your three main weapons, once you get them, right, you get to keep them, even if your shit. No, you don't get to keep them if you go to prison. But those three are weapons that don't go bad; they're indestructible, right?
Those are the ones that don't break.
Right, but the ones you pick up off people have finite amount of charges. Mm-hmm.
I think that would work really well.
It would, and that's in answer to your question. That's what I would do in the game that I didn't get to do in the books because I would love to have Worm using many different weapons
and shit. Yeah,
exactly, because it's never explicitly said in the book, but if you, in the same way as it's never explicitly said in John Wick or in quite a few movies where you have an action character that can't seem to get killed. Now, I enjoy those movies that people sometimes hate, where they're like, how does he never get killed? And he kills all those guys. For me, the answer is always, well, he's not a regular dude. He's essentially a superhero, Like, and in Ghosts of East and West Baltimore, no matter how badly Worm gets fucked up, no matter how many injuries he takes to his body, he keeps going. And he's a somewhat regular sized dude. So how does it happen?
Well, so there is a concept called quantum immortality. And it says that, our our universe has multiple branching universes at each point, but your consciousness can only move forward through the universe in which you're alive. So you always experience the version in which you survive. And so that's action movies are just, it's that guy's quantum immortality. He can only we're following this character, and he can only experience the universe in which he lives, even if it's only a 1% chance he survives. That's the only one he keeps, because if he dies in every other possible universe, then he's not going to move forward through that one.
Got it. I like to think, that the main character in the book doesn't necessarily have superpowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that he's just very, very lucky.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's what I want it to be. Because the thing is, from a personal perspective, I feel I've been very, very lucky with both legal and physical injury, like related things in my life. And like I've had incidents where I've been slightly injured when other people would have been much more injured, not because I'm strong, but because it just didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like a car accident where I only broke a couple ribs, but somebody else would have died. And it's not because I was strong, it's because I fell asleep at the wheel, so my body was relaxed. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like shit like that. So I kind of channeled that into the book that he just kind of lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like the idea in a video game of him like just getting a bunch of different weapons, because it's just like he don't know, he's just a regular dude. He don't know how to use all this shit. And it's fun, you know what I mean? Like a regular dude wielding all these crazy weapons,
Yeah. Absolutely. We really we got this game fleshed out.
Right.
What's something I wanted to touch on? So I know in Dark Souls and a lot of FromSoft games, they have this theme of decay, right? They're always in decaying or dying worlds. Now, is not that you would ever think bad about Baltimore, but would a choice of making it like a FromSoft game, is that because you kind of Baltimore almost is kind of like a decaying city in the same way that Lordran or Bloodborne or Elden Ring is a world that's like dying because of an event?
Here's the thing, bro, and I know why you preface the question with that, because I don't like to do bad PR for Baltimore for us, but no, Baltimore is in some ways a decaying city, and in many ways, demographically, a city that has moved on. I mean, every year, more and more people leave the city of Baltimore, right? That's the statistic. The numbers show that. So, with that being said, yeah, I would want it portrayed just as like a dying world, just like Elden Ring is a world that's moved on. You know what I mean? Yeah, just like that. But there would be parts of the game where I would want the juxtaposition. Like I would want, like if you're in Parkville and you drive because at that point you have the vehicle in the game. You know what I mean? And if you drive too far down Harford Road, you get to Joppa Road, and it's just these really nice houses and stuff like that. But then the game turns you around and you end up back in Parkville.
I've made that drive.
Huh?
I've made that drive.
So do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
like
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that shows you that there's a part of Baltimore I want. So you're in this very gritty part, then you hit Parkville, and it's just gross and Suboxone wrappers, and then all of a sudden you can almost get to Perry Hall, and you see it in the distance with nice houses and no potholes, and then it gets like foggy, and when you go too far in a game, and in Mario Kart, when you go off track,
the fucking Lakitu grabs you and I was just playing Mario Kart earlier
I
too.
know that's why I use the reference. So you go too far and you see the drop a road sign, and all of a sudden you back to Hartford and Taylor Avenue.
Damn.
Yeah, you feel me? Same thing happens and goes to West Baltimore when you go too far up Ricerstown Road or Park Heights Avenue, and you start, or you go too far up Park Heights Avenue and you end up like heading up towards Pikesville and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So you get, because I walk, so it's gonna look gritty, and then all of a sudden the sun start come out when you start getting towards it. The whole color palette change.
Yeah, it's like all bright, and then it just turns you around, and all of a sudden it's back to being gritty.
Yeah, I would say I want the color palette to be very gray based, just like Hollow Knight and Salt and Sanctuary. Are you familiar with what those games
Yes.
look like? The color?
Yeah, it's a lot of dark and black, and like any pop of color stands out.
Correct. I don't really remember much color in Hollow Knight except for an orange here and there, or like a green to like. It was just very.
Yeah, if something's colorful in Hollow Knight, you're like, I gotta go get that. That's important, obviously.
Yeah, I would want that in this game like that. I would want it like that. And the more and more I think about it, maybe not pixels, maybe cartoon like Hollow Knight.
Yeah, like, well, I personally, I'm over pixel art. Like
Oh yeah,
it looks really good, but it's like we don't have to keep doing it. But Hollow Knight with the hand drawn sprites and backgrounds, I think looks really
yeah.
good.
Oh, you could have the hand drawn shit in the background. Like, damn, that would be tight. You could
Cool,
have like,
almost if you could get a graffiti artist to do it.
right. Oh man, that would be tight. And you could have all of the different landmarks in the city, everything. You could have Mastaloni's on Hartford, just all the shit. You feel me?
Absolutely. Well, that's where you'd go when you wanted to heal. Get a fucking
Uh,
meatball ass sub.
right. That's one of the waypoints. Different waypoints you can stop at. So let me ask you this. So where would the bonfires be, and what would we call them instead of bonfires?
Don't know what we would call them, but I'd almost picture them as tables with like this weird unnamed drug on them. Because when he first does it, it's because he picks up this like pill or this powder or whatever it is and tries it, and
Right.
so it almost like they'd be like abandoned row homes, almost. But like that one would have, it wouldn't have boarded up doors. You'd be like, oh, I can go in there, and maybe there'd be like a subtle glow coming from behind the door, and then
Right.
you'd go in, and then you'd be in this own screen, which would just be like maybe a couch, the table with the drug, and then when you sit down on the couch, you take the drug, and then there's the level up screen. And you're like, oh, I need to get stronger now.
Right. And you can what now? Okay, what items do you have to get that allow you to even level up at those couches?
I guess it would
Something
just be that drug because the
snowball.
Antiochians are just
Nah.
distributing it, right? Or
Yeah, they are. But hold on, snowballs, bro.
yeah,
You just gotta collect egg custard snowballs in the city. Not because they gotta be like the what's it? Come on, the sparkling twinkling in Dark Souls.
Oh, the Titanite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The drug and the shots. Those can be like regenerated, and you can find those. But the finite resource that allows you to upgrade with the cosmic god and all that.
egg custard snowballs.
Yeah, that you can find in different places, but they're really hard to reach and shit.
I love that too because I would just want to leave it unexplained. Everyone
Right.
from Baltimore would be like egg custard snowball. That's a Baltimore thing, and everyone would be like, but why? Why does this Cthulhu-esque god level you up in exchange for egg custard snowballs? It don't fucking
Oh,
matter.
damn. You have to, wait. You're right. I didn't think about that. Why would it want that? So, but
It
does
doesn't
that matter?
matter. I love it.
All
Of
right,
course it
bet,
does.
bet, bet.
Why else would they be distributing the drug in Baltimore and not somewhere
Yeah,
else?
you.
Other
Yo,
than, you know, the
do you
Baltimore police ain't gonna fucking do nothing.
right, right, bro? Do you remember in Elden Ring the Turtle Pope?
I do remember the Turtle Pope.
All right, yo, that's how the old guy joint in Ghosts has to be. Like you hit the level up button and it's like, sorry, you have 3 out of 4 egg custard snowballs, and you're like, damn. Let me go on fucking flex your life. Hope they don't lie to me.
Just telling me where the fucking snowballs are.
Right. So maybe it don't lie to you. So you fucking go or cowboy. You use cowboy, right? You
Yeah.
watch a cowboy video. He do that, and you find the snowball. So you got your 4 snowballs. You click the button, and the like screen, you know, it goes spins around, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're in front of like this big tentacled Cthulhu thing, and it's just like like that,
Oh yeah,
like.
it's just like eating them. It's just a little animation. It's just it fucking loves egg custard snowballs because why the fuck not?
Exactly. And bro, every time you click on it, I want it to be like them video games similar to Hollow Knight and stuff. It can't speak and it doesn't like makes it just goes like that. And you click it and then you level up. And like when you do have the 4 out of 4 snowballs, you click it and it's just like oh no no.
Yeah, it's the sound of an octopus eating shaved ice.
Yes, exactly. And then it goes, oh, it eats the shaved ice, and then you level up, and your health bar gets a little bit bigger, and your adrenaline bar gets a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how. Now, are there multiple different endings that you can get if you achieve different things?
Well, you the writer. You tell
Damn.
me, man.
Yeah, but no matter what, you die.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
But I
matter
guess
what.
it depends on. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't want to spoil nothing, so maybe certain characters live or don't live, depending on different choices you make. Maybe if you actually check in with your parole officer, maybe you don't get his ass kicked 2 seconds in.
Damn. Oh man, you know what? You know what that just made me realize too?
What?
The best part about the Ghost game that come out on PlayStation 6, right? The best part about them, bro, is that how the fans have figured out how to like hack the original game code and make a mod to it where you can play as Alaman 2 on assault mode.
I mean, at that point, that'd just be free DLC.
Bro, get they figured out how to hack it and make it so it's open world and you can play as Alman too, and you just go around assaulting people and that's it.
Assaulting people. You have to level up by masturbating in your car.
Alman too, and it becomes the most popular thing that yeah. But I'll tell you, man, as sick as it is, the most fun video game ever would actually be a game playing as an unhinged bad guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that way more so than playing as a hero because in writing these 2 books, out of all the characters I wrote, including the short story characters I've written, my most favorite character ever is Alman Tomb, the bad guy in Ghosts of West. And I've told that to the people involved in the book, like the editor and some other people, they've been like, yeah, we could tell. And it's just because like writing a really unhinged bad person is like it's a very like cathartic like thing to do.
Yeah.
And I would imagine after a tough day's work playing a video game where you get to play as an unhinged character. I mean, look how people are so excited for the new GTA that's coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's you see that with actors a lot too. Actors play really mean characters and they turn out to be like the nicest people in the world because they just spent so much time getting all this out of their system.
Bro, I gotta imagine like from an actor's your background is acting. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen There Will Be Blood with Daniel
I
Day-Lewis?
have technically yes. I couldn't tell you anything about it because when I
That's
watched it,
okay.
it was on. It must have been like a 12-inch CRT with a DVD player in it with a girl I met, and then we didn't get anywhere because I was still a virgin at the time, and I was just like, is something gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen. I couldn't bring myself to buy condoms beforehand, and then just
Right.
nothing happened. So
So you
that's what I
definitely was
remember. I don't remember anything about the fucking movie.
right. You definitely did not pay attention. Even the acting of Daniel Day-Lewis couldn't captivate you.
I mean, it did
No,
in Gangs of New York, but
definitely in
not
Gangs.
not in not in
Not
There
in
Will
There
Be
Will Be
Blood.
Blood. But look, I just mean like in There Will Be Blood. I just mean like it would be so fulfilling to be able to like smack the shit out of Paul Dano for like months, and like that's what he got to do. So I just mean like as acting, you know what I mean? It's got to be cathartic too.
Yeah.
To act crazy like, and especially if you like Daniel Day Lewis and you decide to act like the butcher for the whole time you're filming. You read that,
And
right? How he
it's a
didn't get
kill.
like,
Sorry.
how Daniel Day Lewis didn't get out of character the whole time he was filming Gangs in New York.
Uh, I probably knew that. I don't know. Sometimes I think
He
most people are weird, but
Hell yeah, but can you imagine how fun that shit would be to not have to wash your hair or shower or dress in modern clothes for 9 months and just disrespect the shit out of people at a fucking IHOP? That's crazy. That's what that boy was doing. He was walking into like regular restaurants and shit like that, looking like Bill the fucking Butcher. Crazy.
I'm sure it's very cathartic. But you get one too many stories of people like other actors being like who sometimes they do that and it's like that guy's an asshole.
Like Jared Leto when they
Yeah,
mad
oh
at him.
fucking Jared Leto, man. Fucking Jared Leto. Fucking
Man,
biting people because he thinks he's a fucking vampire. Putting broken condoms or shit on people for Suicide Squad. Fuck Jared Leto.
barely
You know
people
what's
like that.
cathartic was probably Tyler. It was probably Edward Norton getting to pretend to beat his fucking face in.
Oh shit, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny. I would yeah. I don't know. Have you ever as an actor have you ever had to play a role where you had to portray like an unhinged anger?
Mm, well, I mean, unhinged anger, not really. Um, I mean, I did the one like the crime reenactment joints where I played a guy that like chopped up his roommate and stuffed his body in a fridge, and they found it years later, and he had like taken the guy's job and was dating his old girlfriend and stuff. And had to get into, and then when they arrested him, he just said like, "Yeah, I did it, but I can't tell you why," and he just never told him why. And I had to get in that mentality of it, which that sucks. It didn't suck. It was some of my favorite acting that's like recorded and people can watch, but my family didn't like it because they can't separate me from the character. So like, I didn't like that one because you turned out to be the killer, and I was like, that's not me.
I know it's weird about people with that. I it is weird that people really can't separate the art from the artist, but I don't know. I find myself doing it too, like in both ways, bro. Like there's some authors that write violence so well that I definitely believe they've killed people in real life. You feel me?
Yeah, I
And
feel you.
there are some authors that write violence so well. I definitely thought they had killed people in real life, but then I see them like arguing online with people about Israel and Palestine or posting the food that they ate at Applebee's. And I'm like, you definitely are whack as hell. And now I can't even believe you're writing anymore. Do you feel what I'm saying?
I do feel
So
what you're
like
saying.
that's the thing too. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, with God, that's what's so interesting about acting and writing and rapping and shit like that. Like as much as you said your family, couldn't separate that, nobody is gonna come up to you and be like, "Hey, yo, Alan, you're not really a killer in real life. I don't think you should be portraying that shit in movies. I'ma cancel you." You feel me?
Yeah,
Like
I feel you.
to actors, right? But for rappers, right? Dare a rapper to say that they sold coke or they've been to jail and they actually didn't do those things, they will be canceled by their peers, right? Or a writer to write a whole book about a place they've never been to. You feel me? You will get canceled. But an actor, they don't do that to y'all.
I mean, it's. I guess it's the expectation.
Yeah,
You know.
it is. That your whole job is to act.
Well, and it's like writing. If you write about a place you ain't been and you get something wrong, like you put a T in Hartford,
Damn!
people are gonna notice. um, the even like it's again my favorite dad story. He cannot watch the movie The Net because he is I don't think his title was ever network engineer, but setting up networks, that's what he did. That's what he did for a living. Company would say, I need my FileNet set up. FileNet was like the specific program he worked with, much like we work with NextGen. And he would go,
Right.
and he worked for a company that would get hired by another company to set that up, and he'd spend a couple weeks on the project and then maybe offer some support, and then they'd be good and move on to the next thing. But sometime in The Net, I think he says a character sometime goes, oh man, you can't get from one subnet to the other subnet like it's some crazy thing. And he went turn that fucking shit off. And we were like, why? And he was like going from one subnet to the other to another subnet is how the fucking internet works. Like that's the core concept to it, and they wrote this fucking like movie about it and put that line in there. And he said these people don't know fucking anything about the internet and hacking and computers, and he couldn't watch it anymore.
And that movie is probably unwatchable to many people in his field like him because of that. Bro, you want to know? There is a book, a very famous book called Slaughterhouse-Five. Are you familiar with it?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, by Kurt Vonnegut. And that book, one of the characters is an optometrist who owns his own eye care practice, right? The main character,
yeah.
right? And they get it right. They get it right because, but guess how much they get it right, bro? When the movie, it takes place, not the movie, the book, it takes place. He owns a practice after serving in World War II and dealing with Dresden and the Dresden bombing, right? So it's that time period. So like it gets it right. Like how back in the day you would see the doctor and then they would bring you out 12 frames by American Optical in different bridge sizes and eye sizes. And then you would pick the frames and then they would make them in the back.
Yeah.
Like that's how it used to be back in the day.
Yeah,
You feel
before they became kind of a fashion statement.
Exactly. So they get it right in the book, and I remember reading it and having the opposite reaction to what your father experienced in the net.
Right.
And what I mean by that is just like how he said, man, turn that shit off. I don't give a fuck if this movie is gonna get better. That movie got Sandra Bullock in it, right?
I think so.
All right, I don't give a fuck if Sandra Bullock is fine and a lot younger in this movie than she is right now. Turn that shit off. You feel me? So the opposite happened to me when I was reading Slaughterhouse-Five. I read that part and I said, I don't even know what's gonna happen in this book, but I am hyped. Yeah. Like I got hyped for that shit, bro. I was ready to see what happened next.
It's exciting.
Yeah. I recommend it too. It's a good book.
I mean, I'm gonna read it if they get optometry right. It's just it's weird to see our field referenced.
I'm trying to. I can't really think of too many other books that reference it. But what's really funny is there's a there's a really funny, not funny. It's not funny at all. There's a horror story by my favorite horror author, Brian Evanson. Right, a short story he wrote, and I forget what it's called, but in the book, like in the short story, a person gets a pair of glasses made, and like they're supposed to pick up some bifocals because they got older, and they it mentions that they can't afford the progressive lenses, and one of their friends told them that it was difficult to get used to, and because they're a teacher and they're having to grade papers, they're like not interested in having to adapt to it yet.
That's
And
that's
that's
so
and that's
funny.
and that's how the story starts. But then when he picks up these bifocals, right? It's an old man optician working there, and he keeps calling them something like burfocals or bifocals, right?
Oh yeah.
And like, yeah, you're here to pick up your bifocals, and the guy's like, no, bifocals, and he's like, yeah, whatever. And then when the dude puts on the glasses, every time he puts them on, he can see there's this like entity standing behind his wife, and each time he puts on the glasses, it gets closer and closer to his wife until it eventually snatches her out of existence. And then he's like, "Oh no, my bifocals!"
Did I this reminds me of a story from another place I worked. It was a lady, and the place I worked, they didn't offer bifocals. You could get a progressive or single vision. And we were like, "Oh, you have a multifocal prescription. You're gonna do progressive?" And she said, "No, no, 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 no. I can't have the progressive. I'll fall into the ocean." We were like, "What?" She's like, "Nah, my friend like got him, and they made her dizzy on the boat. And she fell into the ocean." And it's like we didn't have the heart to tell her. It's like, "Well, stop drinking so much, and or
Right.
like don't wear them on the boat. Like, why are you wearing them on the boat?" But the funny thing was, her friend came in and I forgot exactly how the conversation went, but her friend was like, "Well, no, you can't get progressives. You'll fall into the ocean."
Mm.
Like they both just had this. Like, if you wear progressives, it's gonna wonky you, and you're gonna fall into the ocean. Like that specific thing. And I was just like, you can't write something like that.
No,
It just
you
has to
can't.
happen, and you just it stayed in my brain. Maybe one day I'll write a short story about people
You
falling into the
should,
ocean.
bro. What you should do is you should try to write a 500 or 1,000 word short story about just that interaction. It doesn't need to have a beginning and middle, and it could be just what happened.
Okay, maybe if I ever have time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, right now, the current book that I'm working on, I I had a ridiculous idea, right? But I didn't know how to incorporate it in a book that had nothing to do with the idea. So I decided to make this ridiculous idea a TV show that my main character watches on TV. And that's a way I'm able to take all them crazy interactions we experience from work,
And just
and I put them on the show that the character is watching these situations in a sitcom that gradually gets weirder, as if the character is watching a reality show that's like a Twin Peaks surreal reality show that is mostly created from dialogue of the people you and I see. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Like, these people say some of the most flabbergasting things I've ever heard in my life. And it's insane the things that I don't know. You
Yeah,
know.
it's truth is stranger than fiction. You can't write this shit. So we, not even counting the like 30 minutes, like before I even hit the record button that we were talking a bunch, we gone 2 hours now.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And bro, I got you know what? And I should go now. So
yeah.
I can figure out why I just realized why my daughter was saying hello to us at like 11 o'clock. I think my wife and daughter are having a party upstairs and I don't even know about it. And that should be expected because I dipped off for a podcast for 2 hours.
I thought she said she wanted to help you. I thought she wanted to be part of the podcast.
She did. She did. That's what it was. So what Jada was saying is, and that's what I was saying to my friends who have boy children. Daughters are amazing. They're very helpful. They wanna do things to help you. Boy children, they want to destroy things. So Juno was down here. When she seen me down here in this room, it's because this is a room where I do podcast appearances and where I store all the inventory for my books and a lot of other Broken River author books, right? So Juno sees me down here, it's usually because I'm packing up books to ship out or to take to an event. So I'll let her help me by saying, get all the ghosts of West Baltimore. They're the yellow. Put all the yellow together. Yellow, Amarillo, yellow, ghosts of West. West, yellow, Amarillo. And she'll be saying it, the words, and then put them together. You know what I'm saying? So I do that, and she'll do it with the other books. So why she came down here for sure. She was saying,
all right. Well,
I'm gonna go see what they doing, man. This was fun, bro.